All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone. Shalom to the Akim and the few Akwath who may be listening. All right, this is your brother Batagallah from the GMS camp here in Chicago, coming back at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. And Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. All right, but earlier today I was just meditating, and Satan's greatest weapon against us is this flesh, and that's what I was just thinking about, in a general sense. All right, but if you think about it, like because we're in a fight, man, and of course we're fighting against ourselves, but the spiritual demon Satan is our adversary, as well as these devils, Satan's physical counterpart. All right, these Edomites and even these other heathens, and these other Jakes that's in the world. We're surrounded on all sides, all right? But the main way that we are attacked is via the flesh, okay? And it's like in boxing, if a particular fighter, is good at something. For example, when Bernard Hopkins fought Felix Tito Trinidad, all right, Tito Trinidad was known for hitting guys with the left hook, and that's how he was dispatching guys. All right, and he at that particular time, I believe, was undefeated, and was rolling people over. Man, was really fucking dudes up. And Bernard Hopkins stepped into the ring and dominated him. And the way a main or a big way that he did it was not allowing Trinidad to use that left hook at all effectively. Okay, now when they interviewed Bernard Hopkins about the fight, and this is something that's important, because we are going to deal with aches and pains and things that we got to go through, man. Even when you're on the defense and you're blocking, for example, like I said, Bernard Hopkins was very disciplined about keeping his hand up so he couldn't get hit with that left hook. But that doesn't mean that Trinidad wasn't trying to still throw it, and was still throwing it. All right, and what happened? His hand got damaged pretty bad, but he was still able to win the fight. But his hand was damaged from blocking the punch, and that's something that we're going to deal with too. All right, but winning is the most important thing. You're going to go through things, but as long as we endure to the end, that's what's important. All right, but enough with the rambles. Salakia, just wanted to give an analogy, because that's Satan. When you understand that Satan's greatest weapon is the flesh, what is our, one of our goals in this ministry is to conquer the flesh, to overcome this flesh as best as we can. All right. And so we're going to get these precepts. This is Matthew 4 and 1 through 4. It says, "Then was Yahushua led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights and was afterward and hungered, he was afterward and hungered." All right, so this is a point in time where Yahushua is physically weak in the flesh because he's been fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, all right? And that's no food, no water for 40 days and 40 nights, which is some shit that you will die trying to do if you try to do that shit now, okay? And really, I'm not going to say how things were back then because I don't know, but Yahushua did it. And that shows and gives you a testament of how exceptional he was to be able to endure that and do that, and not just do it, but to survive. All right, this is verse 3. "And when the tempter came to him, he said, 'If thou be the son of Yahweh, command that these stones be made bread.'" All right, so, Satan knows that Yahushua is in a weakened state as far as his flesh is concerned at the moment, because of not eating for 40 days and 40 nights, not drinking no water or nothing for 40 days and 40 nights as well. And so he goes and starts taunting Yahushua. And like it says, make this stone bread. If you really got power, make this bread and do this, do that. And Yahushua said, but he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh." All right, and that's something that we got to always remember. It's a lot of things that we may be going without as far as on a carnal level or fleshly level, but as long as we have faith in the Lord, as long as we understand the word of the Lord and believe, and operate within those guidelines, everything is going to be all right, and the Lord is going to take care of us, even if it doesn't look like things are in our favor, or even if we have to go through a certain point in time or period of time of discomfort. All right. And that's what this devil's main weapon is, making Jake uncomfortable, which then makes Jake make decisions that are unwise, whether they be carnal decisions or decisions involving the spirit. That's why all these people love being Christians, because you don't have to have any control of yourself to do that. All you have to do is say, I'm sorry, over and over again, and they tell you it's okay. As long as you donate into the church, you good, which is a complete lie. All right. But it's easy for Jake to do it because it's not no standards that come with it. All right. But when we in this truth, we're doing our best to uphold the standards of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. And, we understand that we can't do that perfectly, but we're fighting our hardest to do that. And we're fighting our hardest to be disciplined. We're fighting our hardest to, master our flesh as best as we can. And that makes us more difficult for this devil to attack and force into a bad position. Not saying that it's not going to happen, because we all have tests and trials and tribulations that we got to go through. But, when you have command over your flesh, it makes dealing with those things, I ain't going to say makes it easier, but it makes it easier for you not to make rash and stupid decisions. This is Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. All right. So like I said, these devils understand the flesh and how susceptible that Jake, not just Jake, but anybody can be to coercion or whatever when you attack their flesh. All right. Whether that's threatening them with physical harm, whether that's starving them out, whatever. All right. And even on a higher level, these devils attack your flesh by giving you bad foods that give your body diseases, which then make you purchase medicine and pills from them, which makes your body even worse. Just all type of things, man. And they make these foods addictive. They put drugs in the neighborhood. These are all these things that Esau does attacks your flesh, man. And then it puts you in a weakened state. And now you're susceptible to all manner of things, breaking you down. All right. And that's why we got to stay prayed up. And that's why we have to work every day on trying to, conquer this flesh as best as we can. Because there's going to come a point in time where, shit's going to get real hot and real heavy out here. And, having command over your flesh is going to be the difference between making it and not making it for a lot of people, man. All right, people who get weak to the flesh are the people that's going to go and take that chip when they don't have any food, instead of having faith that the Lord is going to take care of them and enduring the pain that they might be going through for a season. All right. This is 1 Corinthians 9:24. It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And, like I've been saying, when I bring this out, it's about intentionally doing things, having an intent. All right. And of course, it's always Lord willing, we can be successful. But when you're doing something, you want to have intent. If you're going to get into to train, to get into the cage and fight somebody, while you're training with the mindset of, I'm going to get in this cage and beat the shit out of this guy. You're not training with the mindset of, I hope I win or I might lose. You train believing that you're going to win. And it's the same thing with this truth. It's the same thing with trying to, overcome the weakness of this flesh, man. All right. This is verse 25. And it's not a perfect thing. It's not going to be a easy thing. It's not going to be something that just comes overnight. It's a process that you have to go through. You're going to, like it says in the scriptures, a just man falleth down 7 times, but get back up. All right. Roughly paraphrasing, you're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes, but it's about, not letting that weigh you down and moving forward with the intention of still mastering your flesh. All right. This is verse 25. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. So you have to be under control of yourself. You have to be balanced. You have to be in the right mind state to be able to do this, man. Because if you're erratic, if you all over the place, it's going to be difficult for you to be disciplined enough to manage and overcome your flesh, man, because it takes discipline over a long period of time to do that. All right. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I not as one that beateth the air, but I keep my body but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So it's about having discipline. It's about making a decision and sticking to that decision, regardless of how many times you may make a mistake or whatever. As long as you have a sincere spirit, as long as, you know, the mistakes you make, you repent of those mistakes and overcome those things, then hey, man, it's a part of life. All right. Where the problem comes in is, you know, doing certain things that are just way out of line. That's something that, you know, you got to be on top of, making sure you're not doing stuff like that, you know, committing adultery and other various, you know, things that are of that level. You know, we don't want to do that ever. So, you know, outside of that, though, you know, you may say, for example, I'm not going to eat certain foods, and you slip up one time. And I'm not talking about unlawful foods. I'm talking about things that's lawful but not expedient, just for the record. But let's say you say, like the Apostle Gabar has been preaching, and you know, being, you know, continuously bringing this up because it's important, not eating the added sugar in your food, you know, and cutting out the added sugar from your diet. You know, you make a decision that you're going to do that, you might slip once or twice. You might relapse and go and get a cookie or a honey bun or some shit. But, you know, okay, you made a mistake, get back on the horse, and moving forward, we're going to try to do better and go a longer period of time without messing up. And that's how it happens. You got to build yourself up. It's not going to be oh, I decided I'm never going to do this again, so I'm never going to do it again. I'm not saying that it's not possible. And, you know, for things that are unto death, it better be possible. But, you know, things like adultery, doing, you know, taking drugs, shit like that. Yeah, you know, once you come into this truth, yeah, you know, ain't no more adultery after that. But, you know, with things like the food or whatever, you know, you make mistakes. It is what it is. All right. But you got to keep pushing. You got to keep fighting. All right. And, you know, a good way to begin to learn to master your flesh is the working out, man, because it takes discipline, it takes dedication. All right, it takes consistency. It takes doing things when you don't want to do them, you know. And like the scriptures say, bodily exercise profiteth little, but, you know, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with a little, you know, when you have Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai on your side, okay? So, you know, being active, eating the right foods like the Apostle Gabar been going into, both things, because he's been talking about getting active too, and brothers getting more active. And the water Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai for putting a spirit on him to speak about these things, because this stuff is important, especially coming into the times that we coming in, man. All right, we're not talking about doing it for vanity or doing it for some worldly reasons, man. We really coming into some real troubling times, and you're going to physically need to be together, you know, in order to endure the things that we're going to have to endure. And that's not to say that, you know, the Lord is not going to protect brothers that are in less good in less of shape or are not physically, you know, fully healthy, because there's a lot of brothers with ailments and things like that too. And guess what? The Lord is going to provide for the elect, man. Point blank, period. All right, but for those of us that can do our part, we should be trying to do that as well, because, you know, it shows that you're dedicated to you know, to what you want. You know, it shows that you're dedicated to your health, but when you're active about it. All right. So like the Apostle Gabar been saying, eating the right foods, cutting out processed foods, sugar, a lot of these wheat and flours and all that type of shit that's really artificial and unhealthy or tainted, you know, cutting all that type of stuff out, man. You know what I mean? And then going from there. Okay, but with that, we're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone. Shalom to the Akim and the few Akwat who may be listening. Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. Till next time, Kwam Yasharala, Wa Baba.